Okay, good afternoon to every one of you from wherever you are. Some are in the office, some are at home, and some are in other places. A warm welcome to this particular talk on digital approaches to help companies strengthen business resilience and continuity. So I'm glad that able to share this particular presentation with every one of you, and especially in this period of COVID-19 itself. So let's begin the presentation. Basically, many businesses now are faced with what we call the 4D challenges. Now, what are the 4D challenges? 4D challenges include digital, include displacement, include disruption and disruption. So whenever I talk about the 4D challenges in the past, the company are being destroyed, company are being disrupted, being displaced, and so on and so forth. Hard time to convince many leaders of the industry. But in this COVID-19 period, I think every one of us will agree that these 4D challenges are not only real, but they are here right in front of us. So it's very important that we do something about it. And on top of this, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic present a serious threat to people, to businesses and economy across the world. So as leader of the industry, I think it's very important for us to first protect the people first. That means to say that in this period of COVID-19 pandemic and into the future also, in fact in the past as well, the people must come first. And so even more important in this particular period, because without people, there will be no business, there will be no company, in fact, there will be no industry actually. And then for protect the people first, and then of course talk about the customer. With people, with customer, then business can continue. Without people, without business, without the customer, there'll be no business continuity. So importantly, in this period of time, a people first company is most important. Therefore, we always say that if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. Meaning to say that if your company don't change as fast as the market changes, as fast as the environment changes, then the end is near for your particular company. As an analogy, if an egg is broken by an outside force, then it dies. But if an egg is broken by an inside force, then life begins. So we always say that great things always begin from the inside. And therefore, COVID-19 pandemic, economic situation, downturn and all this, it falls on all companies, it falls on every one of you. Therefore, outside force is exactly the same. But what can change, what can make a difference if we change from the inside? Because great things begins from the inside. And therefore, it is very important for us to realize this, that the only sustainable competitive advantage in an organization is if an organization has the ability to transform, and to transform faster than the environment. And importantly for us to realize in this period of time is that an organization must learn. Not only learn, but must unlearn, because the new norm is going to come post-COVID-19. So we got to unlearn our own knowledge, unlearn knowledge which may not be relevant to the future. And we must have the ability to relearn. And not only that, to translate it into action fast, so that becomes our ultimate competitive advantage. So we always say that no organization will get better if you leave it to chance. Nothing will get better by chance. Everything gets better if we change. And therefore, it's important that we take the first action. And I'm glad today that we are all here today, because the fact that you are here today means that you want to change. And the thing is, how can we change? So important to change and to transform. We must understand and remember the 2E dimension of transformation, the 2E dimension of change. 2E meaning that there's an effectiveness part of transformation and change. Effectiveness means that I have a business, I have a service that customer want, that the market want, I can sell my product, I can sell my service to the market. I have a business. Efficiency means that I'm effective, but am I efficient? Efficiency means that how much resources, how much activity am I using in order to deliver the service and product to the customer, which is effective. So in terms of transformation, in terms of change, remember that it is efficiency versus effectiveness also. It's not only effectiveness alone, it's not like efficiency alone. So if you put this efficiency on the y-axis and effectiveness on the x-axis itself, if you are effective, means your top line is very good, means your industry revenue is very good, the top line is very good, it is effectiveness. Efficiency means the bottom line. Bottom line meaning that if your bottom line is low, you're very efficient, then you are a company, we call you a company that thrives. But if you are a company that is effective, that means you have service, your product, a market that wants it, and then the industry revenue is coming in, but you may not be so efficient. Your cost of production is high. Then we say that you are a company that survives. Of course, if you are not effective, market is down, and you are not efficient as well, then we say you die. And therefore, importantly, that in this particular period, if you are not so effective, market is down, service and product cannot sell, and so on and so forth, we must be efficient. We must improve and we must cut down our cost of operation, and then we call it protect. So importantly, in this particular fourth quarter, we can see that we may not be thriving in this period. We may be surviving, we may be dying, but importantly is to move towards protect. That means to protect our business first, and when the time comes, we can then move into the survive quadrant, and then we can move into the thrive quadrant. So it's very important for us to reflect and relook at our business to say that, how can I protect my business? And therefore, in this particular period of time, in COVID-19 period, the top of the mind issue in most of the CXO is my cash liquidity able to flow? What about the people morale and productivity? Is my sales pipeline being diminished? Is my supply chain being disrupted? And how about the cost and operational optimization of my company, of my processes and operation itself? And is my digital maturity model still valid? Am I going to more digital business and so on and so forth? What about my current business model? Is it the established company, is it still valid into the future? Or is it still valid even now? And how am I going to engage my customer? How is my engagement customer channel going to be now into the future? And last but not least, how am I going to prepare for the future? How am I going to rebound into the future? Because COVID-19 will end. But the important thing that when COVID-19 ends, our company do not end. Our company can go forward again, and then we go into the future together. So this is at the top of the mind issue in most of the CXO. And therefore, in order to tackle this issue, many company, top consultancy company come up with a recommended action. Of course, here with Accenture come up with the 3P recommended action. What are the 3P action? Prevent, prepare, and predict the future. Similarly, prevent and prepare. Prevent meaning, how can I protect my people? Especially, how can I enable my people to work and to connect with colleagues from diverse and location? How can I create a safe environment? How can I de-densify workplaces? So this is what we call by protecting the people. And then we prepare. Prepare meaning to say, how am I going to prepare my processes? That means my critical processes, many processes in the supply chain, in the enterprise, or shop floor will be disrupted and will be destroyed. Therefore, how am I going to bring them back into operational level? So we are saying that how can I protect the people, how can I protect the processes, and then how can I prepare for the future? That means the future will definitely come. How am I going to stabilize my processes, stabilize my people, and then prioritize the action and together protect now and then go into the future. So this is what we call the 3P action plan from Accenture itself. Of course, many other MNC also, consultancy companies come up with their strategy. So this is the 4A strategy from Ernst & Young. Similarly, protect and prepare. That means to say that first, number one, how am I going to put the people's safety first? Protecting the people. Number two, how am I going to protect the processes? Processes meaning from the supplier to the enterprise and all the way to the customer itself. How am I going to review the condition? How am I going to prioritize the customers and to make sure that the whole process flow from supplier to enterprise to customer is seamless? And then number three is that how am I going to reshape my strategy and bring business back to normal? That means to have business continuity itself. And then number four is how am I going to build the business resilient into the business and then prepare for the future. So similarly, protect and prepare for the future. And we also have a plan, recommended action for McKinsey, for example, which have the 5R action plan, whereby, first of all, how am I going to resolve my current immediate challenges? And then how am I going to bring my business back to resilient and return back to normal. That means return back to normal scale as quickly as possible. And then once I protect my business, how am I going to reimagine the future? And how am I going to reform the future so that I can reimagine the future and reform and then bring it into the future, protect, and then prepare for a future. So similarly, whether it's 5R, whether it's the 4A strategy, whether it's the 3P strategy, it's all the same. How do I protect? How do I prepare for the future? And of course, these are big companies, but some of you may be from small companies. So I talked to one of the SME bosses and said, how are you going to handle the downturn? How are you going to handle your company in this period of COVID-19? So this particular CEO for SME said that I don't have big strategy. I only had the 4 turns. So I said, 4 turn strategy. Please enlighten me. I also like to know about what the 4 turn strategy. So the bosses say that the 4 turn strategy will be able to handle the downturn. So please enlighten me, what are the 4 turn strategy? So he said the first turn we must do is we must be insistent. That means to say that although we are in the midst of the COVID-19, although we're going to recover soon, we must be insistent. That means to say that we must insistent that we can get over the COVID-19 period. We must insistent that we're going to bring our business back to normal. So this is the first turn. So what about the second turn? Say insistent not enough, we must be consistent. That means to say that insistent one time off will not be enough to bring my business back to normal. I must be consistent in my effort. That means it must be a continuous basis. Because things are changing almost on an every day, every week basis. So I must be consistently pushing forward. So what about the third turn? Third turn is I must be persistent. That means I will be facing obstacle into the future even now, but I must be persistent to overcome each obstacle as it comes along. So I said, wow, this is the 3 turn: insistent, consistent, persistent. What about the 4th turn? What is the 4th turn? The boss said that the 4th turn is that there will be no U-turn actually. Meaning to say that there will be no U-turn. We're going to survive, we're going to protect, we're going to survive, and we're going to thrive into the future. So the direction, there'll be no U-turn. I think this is a good strategy, the 4th turn strategy, in order to overcome the downturn, so that when the upturn comes, we are able to go along with upturn and make the business recover from this downturn itself. So I think the 4th turn is quite interesting. And then within SMEICC itself, of course, we also have the 5 pillars of a sustainable enterprise. That means to say that in order for you to protect your business, in order for you to prepare your business for the future, we have the 5 pillars of a sustainable enterprise. And the 5 pillars, of course, consists of the business value proposition. The best to ask is that you must look at your business model again. What is your value proposition? That means to say that you are in business, what value do you bring to the market? What value do you bring to the customer itself? I think this is very important. We are not only in business just to make money. Of course, make money is by the way, but I think importantly is that what's the value you bring to the market? What's the value you bring to the customer? What's the value that you are better than your competitor? So I think this is number 1 pillar that we need to focus on. And once you define the value proposition, importantly then is that how am I going to align my processes? How am I going to make my processes lean? How am I going to make my processes more efficient? Because processes itself is going to bring your service and product through the business into the market, into the customer itself. But I think if a company were to focus just on the value proposition, just on the processes itself, then the company will collapse. Because the third more important pillar, we call it the people's pillar. That means to us, after working in so many companies, for an enterprise to be able to sustain, it is important that we improve the people first. That's why protect the people, so improve the people first. And then the people improve the processes. And together, the people and processes will bring value to the market, will bring value to the customer. I think this is important. And of course, the 4th pillar is what we call the digital technology pillar. That means to say that with digital technology, we can then make the process cheaper, better, faster, and make the people smarter. So together with the digital technology, together with the process, together with people, we can then bring business value to the market. But I think importantly, out of the 4 pillars itself, the 5th pillar is the most important, which is what we call the leadership. Because without the leadership, we cannot glue the 4 pillars together and cannot operate as alone. So this is what we call the 5 pillars of a sustainable enterprise. The 5 pillars is our recommended action from SMEICC itself, whereby we can enable company to not only protect your business, but to prepare your business for the future itself, and to ensure business continuity, to ensure business resilience So let's try to explain each of these pillars one at a time. So we look at the business value proposition first. So for this, we use what we call a business model canvas, the BMC, in order to enable company to look at their business in one worksheet, for example. We call it a business model canvas. So importantly, in business model canvas is the middle, the number one column here, we call value proposition. That means you must look at your business. What is your value proposition that you can bring to the market? What is the value that you are better than a competitor? What is the value that you can bring to your customer? And that is number 2 block, which is the customer segment itself. What are your customer segment? Which value can bring to which customer segment? And importantly, of course, is number 3 block is the channel itself. That means the channel is where you bring the value from your company through the channel to your customer. And of course, block number 4 is the customer relationship. So we always say that the purpose of block 1, 2, 3, 4 is that we are able to enable the company to be effective, which is block number 5 itself. That means to say that if you do block number 1, 2, 3, 4 well, then you are able to be effective. That means you are able to have a service and product that you can deliver to the market itself, and therefore your industry revenue stream, which is your top line, will increase. And this is the purpose of business, isn't it? To be able to bring value to the customer so that enable the value stream, the revenue stream to come in, which is the top line itself, which is the effectiveness of a company. But in order to bring the value proposition to the customer itself, we need block number 6, 7, and 8. 6 means that the key activity, it can be manufacturing, it can be the front line itself, which means the supply chain activity, the processes within the company activity, and key resources means your people, your resources, for example, your machine or equipment. And number 8 block is your partner, which can be your supplier, for example, that help to deliver, help to supply to you the raw material, to supply to you the work in progress, the product itself. So for 6, 7, 8, the purpose is that if I can do the 6, 7, 8 well, I can then deliver the value with block number 1. But importantly, in terms of productivity and transformation is that the purpose of 6, 7, 8 is, in terms of productivity, is to reduce the cost structure, which is block number 9 itself, which is the bottom line, which is the efficiency part of the equation of efficiency and effectiveness. So therefore, one look at the business model, if my top line revenue stream is high, if my bottom line cost structure is low, then I thrive. But if my revenue stream is low, my cost is high itself, then I survive, for example. But if both are low and then cost is super high, revenue is super low, then I die. Therefore, one look at this model itself, we know how is my cost structure, how is my revenue structure, and which block contribute to whichever block, 9 or 5, and then I can take particular action. So one look at the business model is important for us to do this first, and then we can then protect our business as you have today. Because from a business resilient perspective, it is important to model our business model canvas and how to protect it. Because this is the business that our employee know their employee rely upon. And this is the only business that our customer supply transact with us. And this is also the only business we have now and we can bring into the future. So important is how can I minimize avoidable loss or damage so that I can bring the business back to the best possible shape today. And then that's what we mean by protect the business as you have today. And then we can go into the future. How am I going to prepare my business for tomorrow? That means to say that with the business model canvas, I can then model my as-is, current as-is business model, and then I can then identify the risks, the opportunity, where are the hotspots, where are the challenges, and then I can focus on developing the relevant business model, which is a to-be business model, in order to cope into the future, in order to cope with the new norm that is going to come post-COVID-19 period. So I can model the as-is business model, I can model the to-be business model, and I can then see that where am I going to move into the future, and then what need to change in the processes itself, what need to change the people itself, and what digital technology I need to bring into the business in order to enable me to go from today into tomorrow. And this is critical. So this is the first step that we need to do to say that business model canvas and what's the business value proposition now and into the future. Once we have done that, the next step that we need to do, of course, is to look at the processes itself, which is the 11th step, process improvement. And to look at the process improvement, we encourage companies to look at your processes horizontally. We know that companies are organized into department, into a specialty department. For example, your finance, your HR, your operation, your warehouse, or customer service, or manufacturing, for example. We are all organized particularly. This is what we specialize in. But the value of a company, the value of a product, the value of a service fall horizontally across department actually. And therefore, in order to deliver, in order to look at the horizontal processes, which is the one that deliver the value added, through the value added activity, deliver the product service to the customer. So we encourage company, therefore, to look at the processes that cut across department, because the customer only look at you from the horizontal point of view. The customer don't care how you're organized vertically, how you specialize vertically. Importantly is that, can you deliver the service? Can you deliver the product to me at the time that I want, at the service that I want, at the quality, and so on and so forth. So important is, are we able to see? Are we able to understand? Are we able to evaluate our company from a horizontal, we call it horizontal value stream. And for that, we actually use a tool called the value stream map. So with a value stream map, we can then see the horizontal value stream. We can map out the shop floor for manufacturing, for example, or we can map out the frontline services for a service company. We can also map out the enterprise level, the office level. We can map out the customer on the right side. We can map out the supplier on the left side. And we can see the information flow from right to left. We can also see the material flow all the way from supplier from left to right. So with a visualized picture, we call it value stream like that. We can then look at where are the point of failure that currently is happening in my company due to COVID-19, for example. Where are the point of failure that I need to cap, that I need to recover from, that I need to protect, and then stabilize my business. Importantly also, with a value stream map, I can then look at the opportunity. That means, what are the opportunities in my business, in my processes that I need to change in order that I can bring the business, prepare the business into the future. So with a value stream map, if we are able to map out the value stream map itself, then you are able to identify the point of failure, then you are able to identify the opportunity, and there lies the opportunity for digital technology to come in, and then to bring your business back to normal and then into the future. So this is what we call process improvement. But of course, process improvement is not a one-off thing. We are not saying that the process improvement, we have projects that start and stop and then that's it. Process improvement is a continuous improvement. We call it Kaizen, or in Chinese we call it Kaizen. And Kaizen, importantly, you must have the PDCA cycle, you must have SDA cycle, SDCA. PDCA means plan, do, check, and act. It means to say that if I identify those are the point of failure, if I identify those are the opportunity, how am I going to systematically carry out project? I plan, I do, I check, and systematically and bit by bit, slowly, gradually, I improve my processes itself. And then importantly is that how can I stabilize it? Stabilizing means that I then need to go into the next cycle of standardize, do, check, and act. Because if I don't standardize it, you will fall back again into the past again. And then I continuously go for the next PDCA cycle and the next SDA cycle and continuously improve my processes, continuously improve my service and my product itself. Then I can bring the processes back to normal and back and prepare for the future itself. So this is what we call by process improvement. And then I look at the other, once I'm able to remove the non-value added activities from my processes so that I make my process efficient, then I can next look at the technology itself. So for technology itself, importantly is to be able to connect people, and especially nowadays we have workforce that can spread into work and workplace, can be working from home, working from office. So how am I going to have a technology that can link this together to enable this to happen? So technology comes in. So in SMEICC itself, we have the modern factory, whereby we have technology at the supply chain level. We have technology also at the enterprise level, and we also have technology at shop floor level. And later Dr. Tan Pui Siu will elaborate much more on this modern factory, much more on the technology that you can actually use in order for you to use this technology to recover from the COVID-19 and to prepare for the future itself. So this is what we call by the technology dimension itself. So importantly is that technology dimension comes in after you have improved the process, because I always tell bosses from industry, so no point trying to automate an inefficient process, no point trying to digitize an inefficient process, because if you do that, you end up with an automated, digitized, expensive, inefficient process just as well. And therefore, if you do that, you are producing waste, you are doubling the production of waste, tripling the production of waste. So it's important to look at your processes first. Business value proposition, define that correctly. Now in the future, look at the process efficiency, and then technology can come in to further improve the efficiency of the process itself. But if a company look at this particular pillar, second pillar, third pillar itself, without looking at the people pillar, then the company cannot sustain long. Because the fourth pillar is just as important. We call it the people's pillar. So if you go to a company like Panasonic, if you go to a company like Toyota, if you ask the bosses, what do you make in your factory? The bosses say, I make people first. By the way, I also make my processes. By the way, I also make my product. So in a nutshell, what it means is that any transformation project, any change project that you do in your company, in order to bring value to the business, to the market, to the customer itself, it is a balance between the process, the digital technology, as well as the people, which is the workforce itself. That means to say it is a balance. That means in order to make my business successful, in order to make my process successful, I must also make my people successful. It is no point trying to make the process so successful, trying to make the boss of the owner of the company so successful, digital technology so successful, but the people are not successful. So we always say that the number one thing to focus on now and into the future is the employee. And of course the customer itself. Therefore, take good care of the employee, keep them well, keep them employed, important, keep them employed, because the upturn is definitely going to come. And when the upturn comes, you do not want to lose your talent, which is in your business itself. Because losing the people is losing the business actually. No company will ever grow without the people growing. So importantly is look at the technology, look at the process improvement, but I think importantly also look at the job redesign. Whether you are going to redesign the job to improve your performance, improve your efficiency, increase your productivity, or whether is that the workforce are getting older, so how am I going to redesign the job such that I can address the stress, I can address the fatigue, I can address the aging population, perhaps in my company itself, or whether am I going to redesign the job so as to motivate the people. So job redesign is critical nowadays, but it comes only after you have cleared up your processes, after you have identified the technology that is needed, and what are the changes in the processes and technology, and then the job just has to change as well. I think importantly nowadays is that when you redesign the job, you must consider the job core dimension. That means to say that what kind of job is going to, what kind of skill variety, what kind of tasks am I going to identify, and are the tasks significant? Are they autonomy? Do I have feedback? The reason why we have this core job dimension is because we want to, at the outcome of job redesign, is to have a highly internal work motivation, high quality work performance, and of course, high satisfaction with the work itself and low SMT, of course. These are the personal work outcome I want to have. But in order to have that, people must have meaningful job. People must have experience, responsibility for the outcome of the work, and they must have knowledge of the actual result and so on and so forth. So if you take into this consideration, redesign the job together with the technology and the processes itself, and then the people will be developed, and then your company will survive and thrive into the future. But this is the people's pillar, but I think more importantly is the middle pillar. We call it the leadership pillar, because it's a leadership pillar that is going to bring the four pillars together and then to function as one and into the future. But importantly, leadership is that the critical skill of this century is not actually what you know, but importantly is how much access you can have to what other people know as a leader. Whether you are leadership at the boss of the company, or whether in the middle layer, or whether in the bottom layer. Importantly is that for leadership skill nowadays, it is not what you know, but how much access you have into what other people know. So we always say that the leadership nowadays, it is not much how you know that matters. I think importantly in this particular period of digital transformation as well as COVID-19 period, it is not about how you know that matters. What matters is how much access you have to what other people know. I think importantly is not how intelligent you are as a leader. I think importantly is how much intelligence you as a leader can draw from your people, and therefore together as a team, we have more capability, we have more capacity, and then we can tackle this particular downturn, this particular pandemic itself. So the quality of leadership nowadays, according to John Maxwell, is that people must come first. That is to say that take care of the people, but importantly also in this period to educate yourself, because not one person will know everything. And every day, it seems every day things are changing, technology is changing, environment is changing. So how am I going to cope? So the third more important criteria or quality of a leadership nowadays, be flexible. And like I said, leverage on the team itself, because not one person will know everything. And important to communicate. And be real, because we make mistakes, and therefore be authentic. And importantly, I think it's easy to manage other people. I think more important, how can I manage yourself? And this is the 7 quality of leadership nowadays in order to cope with the pandemic, in order to be able to bring your company, protect your company, and prepare your company for the future, by John Maxwell itself. So we always say that if you as a leader is willing to change, and then your organization will definitely transform. Because leadership transformation of company, change of a company, cannot be dedicated down to the shop floor, cannot be dedicated down to the front line. When leader transform, the organization will transform. And therefore, in this particular difficult period, if you want more, then you yourself have to become more. If you want things to change, then you have to change. If you want things to get better, then you must get better first. But if you want things to improve, you have to improve. And everything, if you grow as a leader, if you show by example as leader, I think everything will grow with you. And therefore, importantly, what we cannot change is the outside environment. But what we can change is the internal, inside our company. We can change, we can be more efficient, we can try to be more effective, and then together we can then protect the business, we can then prepare the business for the future. So importantly, the leadership is most important, because if leadership don't change, the business value proposition will not change, the processes will not change, the people will not change, and technology will not come in by itself. And I can tell you, when the market change, the processes and technology will never change by itself. When the market change, it is the leader who change, and it is the people who can change. So people first, and leadership must have this in mind. It must be a people first company in this particular period and into the future itself. So this is what we meant by the 5 pillars of a sustainable enterprise that we come up with. So as to be able to help your company to be able to have business resilience, to be able to have business continuity. We call it the 5 pillars of a sustainable enterprise. But of course, the 5 pillar framework of a sustainable enterprise, we need to convert them, we need to translate them into methodology. So we translate the 5 pillars into 2 methodology. One is called the Omni methodology, whereby how am I going to make my company processes to be more efficient? How am I going to make the business model to be more effective first? So this is the first layer. We call it the Omni methodology itself. And if you can relate, the 5 stages actually relate to the 5 pillars of a sustainable enterprise itself, whereby we start with the business first, and then we go on to look at the processes, and we look at the area of improvement in stage number 3. And stage number 4 is where are the improvement areas, where are the projects, where are the initiatives we can incorporate to the company in order to protect the company, and then prepare for the future. And stage 5 is where then we develop the action plan itself. So this is what we call the Omni methodology itself: process improvement, business modeling, innovation, and so on and so forth. So this is the first methodology we have developed to help your company to be more efficient in your processes, to be more effective in your business. But of course, then we can go on to the next methodology we develop, similar structure, 5-stage structure, so as to complement the process improvement. This is what we call DTI. DTI stands for Digital Transformation and Innovation Methodology, whereby we want to transform the company. We want to have digital transformation itself. Once we be able to streamline the processes, once we are able to remove the non-value-adding activity from processes, once we are able to identify the new business model, then we go for the digital transformation. I mean, how does digital technology comes in to further improve my company, to further transform my company in order to prepare for the future? So one is protecting the business model, one is preparing for the future to cope with the digital transformation is coming in order to implement Industry 4.0, for example. So it has a similar structure so that it can complement each other, so that the company will go for the Omni methodology, can then seamlessly transit into the digital transformation and innovation methodology itself. And both this methodology can then be transferred to the company through a two programs. One is the Omni program, the other one is the DTI program, whereby bosses from industry say that in order for the methodology to seamlessly transfer to the industry, you must have to learn, you must have to practice and implement module. In other words, to say that it is no point learning the methodology in the classroom itself. I think importantly is how can I identify project, how can I transform the company? I think importantly is not only the learn part, but also the practice on-site mentoring in the company itself and how to implement the particular project itself so that I can make my people to be productivity champion or to be digital champion, for example, and actual project happening in a company. Because importantly, it's not just the learning inside the classroom. Importantly is that I must be able to practice, I must be able to implement the technology, I must be able to change the company at the end of the day, I must be able to transform the company, and then at the same time make my people the champion so that the next round, we as a company, internally within the company, we can do this on our own itself. So this is important. Unless it has the learn, practice, and implement structure, it will never work for company itself. So we implement this learn, practice, implement structure, and therefore we have helped many companies to transform themselves and to change. And the other important thing, of course, is the funding itself. So for if you are a small medium enterprise itself, going for the program, you have funding of 90% from SSG itself. That means to say that if you are from an SME, then per person per module, you only have to pay $600 per module itself in order to have the learn, practice, and implement, whether it's Omni, whether it's DTI program itself. But if you are from a multinational company, funding is also available, which is 70% funding for multinational company per individual. But if you are a Singaporean, age 40 and above, from a multinational company, then you enjoy, similar to a SME, 90% funding itself. So therefore, importantly for the program is that not only is it organized effectively, learn, practice, implement to help company, but it also has the funding module, is funding element of it. So as to help company to be able to receive this technology itself, the methodology itself, and to be able to change the company. But I think, so more importantly, this is my last slide. I think more importantly is that we need to protect our business today. And we also need to prepare for tomorrow, because tomorrow will definitely come. But I think importantly is to act now. That means we got to act now and not to wait for the future. The future is now, actually. So thank you. This is my presentation. My time is up. Thank you for listening. Chris, pass it back to you, Chris.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Lim.
Thank you.
I feel like I've just attended a very powerful masterclass with so many concepts being illustrated. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we'll now move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Mr. Toh Ming Horn, Senior Consultant in the Manufacturing System Division at SMEICC A*, who specializes on business transformation. He has helped numerous companies to innovate their business models and achieve more than 100% productivity gain using digital technologies. Without further ado, I would like to invite Ming Horn to kickstart his session. Ming Horn, over to you, please.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Okay, let me go to the slides.
Sure. Okay, the slides are good.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Chris. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ming Horn. So just now, Dr. Roland Lim explained in detail the methodology, the various aspects of key considerations. So what I continue to share is basically on an actual company experience on this digital transformation journey. So in other words, over the past 1 to 2 years, we are quite fortunate. We work with 17 companies with about 140 participants. So among the companies, we have a big local company, we have Japanese company, German company, US company. We also work with small, medium enterprises and with different aspects. So the participants include the CEO, top management, also include middle management, and also the frontline staff as well, cutting across many different functions, which include sales, marketing, engineering, quality, purchasing, planning, and so on. So we are quite fortunate to have gone through this with many companies to share our experiences also with mutual learning. So I just explain again some of this key perspective. So like what Dr. Roland explained earlier, the key starting point is the value proposition. So the purpose of the digital transformation is to enhance the business value significantly for the organization. And then at the same time, we work towards digital leadership enhancement. So in other words, these are the key driving area where we begin to support the company towards their journey on digital transformation. So digital leadership, the starting point. So how do we define this? In this age of digital transformation, company leaders, it could include the top management leader, it can be the middle management leader, all the way to the shop floor leader. So we need the company leaders to develop digital leadership with capabilities to lead and drive company digital transformation towards Industry 4.0. So to become digital leaders, to lead and sustain the company's competitive advantages with digital transformation. So this is one of the starting points that will be company to enhance, to improve the digital leadership. So this is basically the approach. Now starting from the top left-hand corner, we work on the business model for the company, identify the value proposition. And then we move on to help the company to identify so-called the digital value stream map. We start by looking at your customer for the company. On the right-hand side, supplier on the left-hand side. So what are the digital systems they have and also the physical flow in the operations area. Now, so we work with all this number of companies. So we actually arrive at quite a few common key questions for transformation that company are interested to know. For example, how to lead. Just now we discussed briefly digital leadership. So company also interested to know where to start. Start with the customer value, start with some of the bottlenecks. So how to go about doing it, the digital strategy, then later on I will touch on, and how to do with what process, basically how do we digitize the processes, what are the people perspective, what kind of digital capability the people have to enhance, then what kind of technology would they be needed, and how to implement. So we guide the company towards the transformation roadmap. Now, so this is basically the approach generically for a number of companies. So next I touch on the actual company case. All right. So among the many companies we work with, this company happens to be interested in improving their very important supply chains sense and response. So this particular company is in the ICT, info, comm, technology, industry sector. So they would like to focus on working towards digital supply network, where the digital strategy is along sense and response. That means what the customer wants, how we connect the customer requirement to arrive at very quick response. So on the right-hand side, we define what is meant by this sense and response. Basically, focus on synchronized planning towards intelligent supply and dynamic fulfillment, because it's a very fast changing world, especially nowadays in this very tight situation. So we work towards that, and we work towards the step-by-step improvement for the company. Let me go through part by part. So first of all, sense and response. That is a value proposition the company is looking for. But in order to achieve the sense and response, we start with the process of the company. So the process in this case, just now I mentioned briefly, we start with this we call the digital value stream map. All right, so this is just an example of the vertical integration perspective. So that means you like to have sense and response. Typically, company will have ERP systems at the company level, but how we connect all the way, MES, all the way to different modules to machine learning, all the way to the shop floor, and also the machine parameter. So this vertical aspects of sense and response is very important. That provides the visibility, traceability, and also very quick response to customer requirement throughout the vertical aspects. We call it the vertical automation pyramid. On the right-hand side, the customer requirement, the left-hand side are supplier. So the next perspective, in this particular company's case, since they wanted so much on synchronized planning, intelligent supply, and dynamic fulfillment, this particular company connect very closely to the customers' expectancy. Now, their customers are expecting very close relationship with the fast response. So in this case, through the digital technology offering, we actually enable them to connect to the company's customer with multiple touch points and enhance the company's customer experience. So with some of these innovation ideas being worked on together with the company actually won innovation award with their customer as compared to the other competitors. So as a result of engaging with this sense and response capability, the digital capability to the customers, this company actually have very high growth. That means they manage to secure contract over and over again with some of this new digital capability. So these are horizontal aspects. They connect to the customers, pulling back support from the supplier. So further down at the organization, we call it the enterprise level. So at the enterprise level for this particular company, does it make it scalable with real-time inter-op? So that means the enterprise operations are able to connect effectively, which means that between the sales and marketing, the planning, purchasing, engineering, finance and different aspects of it, we're able to connect the key aspects of it so that the whole enterprise of the organization is able to function effectively and efficiently to serve the customer's needs. The other part is basically all the way down to the shop floor. Because the actual value is being delivered and carried out at the shop floor level, started from the customer to the enterprise, you go all the way to the shop floor. In fact, work with this particular company to help them to implement certain real-time activities, but they also identify their partners in the other aspects. This particular company serves customers in Asia Pacific, US, and also Europe. It's a local company. It's very progressive to provide this digital capability throughout the different regions. Now, to enable the company to really support the transformation, a very important perspective is the people development. We always heard about the industry 4.0. So what about the people 4.0 perspective? So technology can be acquired, but what about the people skill set, mindset, capability? That is another important perspective, right? So we actually work with the company to identify what are the key job perspectives that could be redesigned, the key job characteristics that enable ownership capability mindset together with the people characteristics to introduce certain aspects of leadership behavioral standards and certain aspects of the company's people skill set. We also provided some training, significant aspects of it, in order to increase the people skill, the digital skill, the digital capability in line with some of the latest technology that being practiced and applied by the company. So putting all this together with the digital technology that Dr. Loren Lim explained earlier. In this case, we talk about the ABC, which is artificial intelligence, big data and cloud, and also the smart enterprise technology, which is basically the social, mobile, analytics, robotics, Internet of Things. So if you look at all these that are being put together, starting from the business value proposition, the sense and response, the processes, we use the digital value stream map, we improve the people, capability, mindset, skill set, tool set, the digital technologies, and also right at the beginning, we talk about the digital leadership. So these are the very important 5 aspects of key success factor that supported the company to be successful towards the digital transformation journey. So this is basically the methodology, which is what Dr. Lim explained earlier. We started in stage 1 by identifying what's the business model, the sense and response strategy, the sense and response business value, and then started with the specific business objective. Then we move on to identify the digital value stream map, the activity landscape, the digital maturity, identify part by part the transformation area, supply chain, enterprise, shop floor, After that, then we identified the specific smart technologies that could be needed. And then we also developed together with the company the digital transformation roadmap, guiding the company not only towards this step-by-step transformation per their customer requirement, but also map up the short to medium-term transformation plan. And that also identified what kind of budget investments, what kind of technology development, and what could be some outsourced activities, and what people development skill set, tool set in a very systematic manner to enable this very successful digital transformation journey. So this is the brief sharing of this company case study. So now I'd like to pass back to Chris.
Thank you, Ming Hon. Thank you so much for the sharing of the customer use case. I think it helps to actually use a use case to actually illustrate through the whole practice of how SMEICC actually do the whole process. So with that, we'd like to introduce our final speaker, is Dr. Tan Hui Siu. She actually spearheads the model factory at SMEICC and has many years of experience in ICT implementations as well as large-scale projects, with deep expertise in complex system, Industry 4.0, and system architecture. So over to you, Dr. Tan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hui Siu. I look after the model factory at SMEICC, and I was also looking after the SMEICC's Manufacturing Productivity and Technology Center, but I've since handed over the role to my colleague. And I will be instead focusing on developing new capabilities and technologies for you, the industry. So just now, my colleague Roland and Ming Hong had a chance to share with you our thoughts and our processes for helping you to go through your digital transformation journey. And as Roland correctly pointed out, you need to sort out a lot of things first before you look at the technology. So this segment, likewise, I would like to also share with you what companies undergo when they start thinking about digital transformation, and then only we talk about the technologies. So my presentation will have 4 parts. One is how we provide a helping hand for you to understand what digital transformation is all about and what you need to do. And then we talk about what kind of ready technologies we have to support your transformation. And of course, if you're interested, then how you can do co-creation to support advancement up your value chain. For example, I saw one of the questions just now was asking about, do we support product innovation? So I will cover briefly on that aspect as well. And the last part is about a peek to the future, which is here today, okay? All right, let's begin. We have set up this model factory since 2017. We launched it in October 2017, so we are almost 3 years. And I'm happy to say that through our doors, we have close to 10,000 visitors before COVID literally shut us down because we can no longer admit visitors. But that's not the point. I think the more important part is that through this model factory, we enable companies to kind of see for themselves how technology works in an actual production environment. And that's why we say start your transformation journey with us. Come explore how technology can solve common industry issues that we see, the issues that you have. And we see them quite common across many companies, and we hope to be able to answer some of them in the model factory. For example, okay, we can showcase how digital technology can help you transform, help you become either more productive or create new business channels for you. And this is done through interacting with the various technologies capability in the model factory. For example, through the virtual environment, okay, you can see on the right here that we even created newer technologies like virtual reality or even augmented reality to show how a physical and cyber environment can be monitored, can be interacting, and can be also made possible now with COVID-19 from afar. Okay, And to support, if you're interested now, we even have created, for example, a live virtual tour, okay, which is down here. And you can scan the QR code here also to look at live virtual tour. And if you want more guidance, we can actually schedule with us a live virtual tours where we'll take you physically through the model factory to show you the actual production and execution. Or where if you are a bit more patient, we are trying to open up the model factory for physical tours again. We are in the midst of getting approval for that. And we also conduct training courses, be it short immersive courses or long modules, to help company understand better, okay, the impacts and the benefits of technology. So that is the model factory part for you to explore and to understand technologies. But more importantly, like what Roland and Ming Hong has shared, before you go into digital transformation, even if your processes are streamlined, you must find the business case. You must find the justification for your investment. Your ROIs is important. And here, for example, there are many frameworks out there, okay? Some are listed here, for example, like Siri. If you're interested to understand where you are today versus what's the best in the industry, Siri can help you understand that very quickly. Or if you're looking at product development, OTR is probably a good program. Or if you're interested to look at a company-wide digital transformation, DTIs as shared by Roland and Ming Hong is probably your cup of tea. But if you want to do it at a small scale and you say, I'm an SME, I want to do it at a small scale, I want a lighter version with a lighter touch, perhaps then you can look at just a smart system framework which look at systems specifically only. So that's you know, a plethora out there. This is just for the examples that SMEICC are offering, okay? But you can always find any other offerings out there in the world, okay? And of course, the 4 pillars are always predominant in any of these programs when you try to formulate the business plan. But once the business plan is done, then the next question is, or while even formulating this business plan, the question that you want to ask is, what kind of technologies can I use for my digital transformation? As the name implies, digital transformation cannot happen without digital technologies. And that's where the next part comes in. How do I, or where do I can go and outreach for affordable, cost-effective, ready technologies to support my digital transformation? And this is the part where SMEICC, as a research institute, we have developed a suite of digital technologies in particular, and we take this holistic approach, okay, where we partner with government agencies and work with trade associations and even technology partners to deliver a whole suite of technology, from whether it's to digitize your manual operations, which we always say is the first mile of digitalization, okay, or through the programs that guide you and mentor you all the way, like DTI, okay, to technologies that support your supply chain and logistics operations, or even your planning and coordination at the enterprise level, or your actual execution on the shop floor. We have technologies for that. And not only digital, we also have automation technologies for you if needed, okay? And we cannot do this alone. So we actually work with a whole suite of partners, and especially if you want to go international or you want to scale up, that's where our partners come in. And these are examples of some of our partners, for example, okay? Right. This Roland has shown. You can look at the QR code online to see the full technology booklet of it. But basically, this is the next level detail of the various areas, from some programs like Omni, Lean, okay, or even to digitize your manual processes with simple apps through mobile workflow, for example, is available. At supply chain and logistics, we have ready technologies that are modular, that will be bite-sized and affordable for, let's say, last mile logistics operations. In COVID-19, for example, there was so much demand for last mile logistics, for logistics delivery, that our inquiries actually hit sky high, for example. Then some of you may say that I have a need to do inventory tracking. We have that solution too. or to manage my collection and delivery. That is also possible. Okay. At the enterprise level, we have apps that can help you do manpower scheduling, inventory planning, or even monitor the usage of your energy, because we are talking about a more sustainable operation, for example. And we also have a module that is very steep in domain knowledge and engineering capabilities that actually help you manage your planning and production down to which machine do I deliver the particular job order to, okay? And then all this can actually culminate in what we call a command and control center where real-time visibility happens. So that is at the enterprise level now. And then this, we talk about vertical integration by Ming Hong just now. We have applications then that goes all the way to the shop floor from, for example, understanding your how efficient your equipment is. Okay, in OEE, your overall equipment effectiveness, 3 factors are considered. Yeah, your performance, that means sometimes it's typically your output, the availability of your machine, especially if your equipment are expensive equipment, you want to make them, use them as much as possible. And the quality of the product that comes out of your machine is very important. And these 3 factors make up for OEE, for example, okay? And for example, how do I do maintenance? I don't want to do preventive maintenance. Like my car, I only want to do maintenance when I really need to do. So then I can maximize my utilization. So maintenance is another important aspect. Or I have a service. My service is about maintaining a fleet of equipment for my customers. And that's where maintenance management system also comes in very useful. And if you're interested in quality monitoring of your products, we have that also. And if you have legacy machines that needs to be connected so that it can collect data, it can make decisions, and that's what digitalization is all about, having the data to support better decision making. Okay, we have that too. And for example, just now I mentioned about workflow mobile, and if you have a lot of manual processes, we have the capability to digitize your paper-based or manual processes into simple to use apps. Okay, and that is where eData Logger comes in. And these have been packaged as modular solutions that you can pick and choose to fit your company's needs. And because they're all supported by a platform, what we call the MCT platform, okay? And just to show you some examples of how you can use these modular technologies. For example, at a shop floor level, if you're working towards a predictive maintenance solution, you can start by brownfield sensorization and connectivity of your legacy machines. Then you can implement OEE, for example, that I explained just now. And then to enable predictive maintenance, only service the equipment when you need to, then you can add in manpower scheduling to do this so that you have the manpower when you need them, plus your maintenance management system to help you manage this collectively. And if you want predictive maintenance, then you probably need some what you call predictive analytics or machine learning capabilities to predict when your machine is going to fail. So these elements can be done incrementally. You can start with step 1, step 2, and step 3. So likewise, okay, another pathway example here, if my concern is about production output and yield optimization, I can start with OEE. If I already can get data from my machine, then I can use my smart production and planning scheduling capability, or SMOM in short, and add them later with quality monitoring and management plus predictive analytics. I can actually optimize my production and yield quite easily with these packages, for example. Okay, right. The next pathway, if I'm a logistic company and I have a lot of manual operations and I can't cope and I want to be able to digitalize them, then one possible pathway is to use eData Logger to digitize my manual operation, workflow mobile to route the information correctly to the various parties, be it inside the or outside the enterprise, okay, to do that first mile, okay. Then I can use manpower scheduling to schedule all my drivers or delivery guys, and then optimize my delivery, which truck go to which region for which delivery, or which motorbikes should be delivering my packages using last mile logistics. And then if I want a predictive element, a look forward element, Then I can even add in predictive analytics. So this is another way for the service industry, for example. Okay. Next, let's say if I want to not only do delivery, but I also want to do inventory management, because inventory means money and obsolete inventory means lost money. Again, I possibly could start with eData Logger and Workflow Mobile. And then now instead, I add in an inventory tracking system. Okay, this can be at the warehouse or end to end, all the way to delivery. Okay, and then if I want to know when I should reorder, most ERP system will give you trigger point when you hit, you reorder. But what is the correct point to reorder? And that is where inventory planning comes in, which is very different from inventory tracking. Okay, and then if you want a predictive element to look forward to, say, a potential future demand, so that you know when to trigger reorders, then a predictive analytics will also be helpful. So these are what I call step-by-step implementation that you can do, okay, for different industry and for different needs. This just 4 of the examples of the many pathways that's possible with this modular concept, and you pick and choose, okay? And let's say using these 4 examples, we have another one. I talked about a real-time dashboard just now, and that is where total visibility happens. And that only can happen when you have digitalized your operations, your processes, your execution, okay? For example, with some of these pathways, and you can have actually a nerve center for command and control, where you can see information real time, then using this information to make better decision with the help of the application, do what if analysis, and also look towards the future with predictive capability. So these are just examples of how our ready technologies can cater for different needs of different companies. Okay, the list goes on, but these are just some of the 4 examples that I've created to share with you today. Okay, so these are ready to go technologies. Of course, there is always pipeline of new technologies that we are building, but also companies sometimes want to create new capabilities, new channels, for example, or new product innovation. And that is where we have programs that can accelerate your growth through deeper partnerships. That means you probably have to engage on a longer term collaboration. Okay, and one example, we just recently set this up, the SMEICC Innovation Factory. The idea is that if companies want to do products development, product innovation, we now have a team that is capable to start with your ideation, just ideas, okay? And then we can take you through the entire design journey, okay? From ideation through actually designing it, okay? In using digital tools, okay? And even test out the idea, for example, through the engineering journey. That means we want to try out certain specific, for example, can this sensor work in this product, in this environment, or do I need a new process to develop this particular material for it? And A-Star and the other IHLs, we have deep capabilities that you can leverage on. And of course, at the end of the day, you can actually use the model factories at A-Star, both SMEICC and ARTC, to pilot your products first. And this is where I want to go to the next slide to better explain. For example, you have developed a new product, okay? And you can bring it into the model factory to do pilot and validation. And this is where the next stage of our model factory, we want to help you de-risk your new product introduction, okay, for next generation manufacturing in particular. And also, in the next phase of our model factory, we want to be able to support small volume production of existing products, but you want to experiment with new technologies so that you do not disrupt your current production, for example. And that is where the model factory can come in. And especially in either of the case, okay, we can give you full digital twin capabilities. That means, let's say you have a product, you have the CAD drawing. From there, we can actually do process simulations of all the various production operations before we even build the first product physically. And then we can see some of the issues that can arise, and then we can take care of the issues. And that will really lower the cost of a new product introduction a lot. And then the next thing is being very I 4.0 centric. We can also put in I 4.0 capabilities into the pilot line as you develop, as you stabilize your production processes. Okay, and then we can even work towards sense and response manufacturing if that's what you want. Okay, and of course, because the model factory has supporting infrastructure, we are also helping you to de-risk by lowering the cost of needing to invest in this infrastructure right from the start. Okay, and we also have a whole a few thousand researchers essentially that has different expertise, be it in the science and engineering field or the biomedical field, that can help you develop the next generation capabilities. And in the model factory, what we are going to offer you is ability to stabilize the process before you go into volume production or mass production, with the correct specifications, with maybe perhaps even introducing you the suppliers so that you can set up your supply chain. So this is something that we are planning to do, and it's also a good time to ask, are you interested? And if it's, we can have a deeper conversation also. Okay, right. So that is for companies who want to co-create with us. But just to give you a peek to the future, okay? Today, Singapore has really a vibrant ecosystem of smart factories, okay? Not just the SIMTEC or ARTC's smart factories, but also a lot of IHL, like Nanyang Poly, SP, Temasek, and even ITE that has set up what we call smart factories, focusing on different aspects of I 4.0, okay? And also, the industry has gone and developed their own smart factories, okay? And some of the examples are here, from Pong, which is the SME, to the MNCs like Makino or Alcon, for example. And then, of course, the technology provider themselves, they have set up a lot of smart showcases. Some of them is a full running factory, like Schneider in Batam actually has a full running capability factory, okay, that is I 4.0 enabled. Or even Rockwell, they have in Jurong, I 4.0 enabled production factory. Makino is as well, okay? So this what I call very real smart factories that is running I 4.0 enabled. Of course, the question is, how smart are these factories, okay? And it's always a case of being the first layer, second layer, and getting smarter as we go along. So it's actually a journey, digital transformation, like productivity improvement. It's a never-ending journey. Digital transformation is also a journey, and the technologies involved is also a journey, okay? It's the same thing. And to better harness this vibrant ecosystem, we actually signed an MOU among ourselves, facilitated by SPETA, okay, to share and let companies not only visit the model factories at A-Star, but also at all these production facilities, of course, perhaps in a more limited capacity, like at Fong, at Makino, or even at the Polis, and we will, depending on your needs, direct you to the correct model factories to see things better, to experience things better, okay? That's not the only thing. Today, we talk about smart manufacturing, okay? But with COVID-19 in particular and bifurcation that is happening, okay? Three things are happening, okay? Reshoring is happening, COVID-19 is happening, digitalization is happening, and because of that, workforce changes is happening. And we have a whole suite of technologies that are coming on board or already on board. And companies really need to transform. They need to build resilience. We talked about protecting just now, resilience. We need to be able to pivot. That's another keyword. How do you make my production pivot quickly to the changing needs of customers, okay? And we need to be collaborative. I cannot do everything myself anymore, okay? And we need to think about how then we can take advantage of each other's capability. And this is where virtualization comes in. So you see these two words here, virtualization and localization. And we are saying, we crystal gaze into the ball and says that we need to move from smart manufacturing to distributed smart manufacturing. And some key things needs to happen, okay, in the arena of technology, okay? Because we are talking about pushing the manufacturing paradigm, the frontier here. Virtual manufacturing must happen, and we already have a long-term program to take the, for example, the sense and response manufacturing at the model factory at SMEICC to the next level, how to enhance the intelligence and the capability there, okay, into a full cyber physical manufacturing. That's one aspect. Then my hardware at the shop floor. Today, my machine, for example, you have visited a model factory, is fixed. It doesn't change very well, except for my autonomous intelligent vehicle that do the material handling. The rest doesn't change very well. The next then, if you want to do from high mix, low volume to any mix, any volume, then we need to talk about plug and produce automation. And in plug and produce automation, new capabilities are needed. And that's another area of research that we have to do. Okay. After that, if you can virtualize your manufacturing, then we can sell it as a service. Okay. Just like software, a lot of software are now on subscription. Can we do manufacturing as a service or operations as a service? And with that, the concept of urban micro factories will come in because consumers want to have a bigger say, okay, of how their product should look like. They just don't want to do the last part of the customization. They even want to have a say in the design. But then you cannot manufacture it, for example, in Mexico and transport it all the way to Singapore. It's not cost effective. Can we have the actual building of what the consumer wants to customize in an urban environment that is very near to the consumer? And perhaps we can even take over some of the empty shop lots that we are going to see post-COVID and become an urban micro factory instead. And that is the other part that is probably going to happen. We are putting a bet that it will happen, okay? And okay, you can say that without 2B, my distributed smart manufacturing will still happen, but we are saying this is a likelihood will happen. So this is a peek to the future that I'm providing. We could be wrong, we could be right, but as researchers, we typically do this. We gaze into the crystal ball and predict that future. So this is a place I thought would be good to share with you and to hear your feedback also. And with that, I thank you for your attention. And you can always contact me. This is my email, or you can post further questions and I'm happy to answer them. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Dr. Tan, for the insightful sharing. Personally, I've been engaging SMEICC. All these things that you share seems very new and exciting, basically. Yeah. So let's invite Dr. Roland Lim back and also Ming Hong back for the fireside chat. So I can see that there's a lot of questions inside the Q&A. So I think probably I'll just keep. Personally, I have a lot of questions. Yeah, but I think I'll just keep it short and leave it to the audience. I just have. Before that, I think we'll just like to run a short poll based on what Dr. Tan has actually shared. So there's this question out here. What type of digital solutions are you exploring to adopt for your business? It'd be good if you can just give an indication over here, just for SMEICC's own reference. Yeah. So they can probably just contact you offline after that. Yeah. We'll probably just leave this poll on for the next 30 seconds for the participants to participate. Yeah. So, dear panelists, I think we have also a very active participant over here that's actually asked a lot of questions. I would just like to seek your advice to see whether you're okay if we just get the one participant to join us in the chat later. Are you open for that? Okay, can. Ching Ting here, please help to facilitate that. Yeah, correct. So let's do another 10 more seconds for the poll. Yeah. Five more seconds. Okay, I think we are good. Let's end the poll now. Okay, so let's proceed on with my one and only question, basically. Yeah, correct. Just to keep it short. I think basically from the sharing and everything, right, it seems that SMEICC is actually covering a lot of areas. Basically in the area of developing applications, moving into training and stuff. So I think it's almost like a software house, basically. Yeah, like a SAP of sort, plus the training arm. So how would you, because I think the only thing is people are saying, hey, if SMEICC is doing this, right, and the market is also doing this, isn't there some kind of an overlap, or is there some kind of gaps that SMEICC seem to identify And this is SMEICC's unique way of actually assisting the industries. Yeah, I'll leave it to the panelists here to address the question.
Okay, perhaps I'll take a first step at it, if you don't mind. Okay, first and foremost, clarify, SMEICC is not a software house. We are a research institute. We are funded nationally, not fully, but still, we are funded by taxpayer money. Okay, so it's always important that whatever research we do, we need to return back to the taxpayer, which is the industry. So I think for many years now, SMEICC always focuses on doing what I call use-driven or use-inspired research. That's why you can see the whole suite of, for example, ready technologies today is from that angle. I just give you one example. When we started OEE, okay, it was way back in 2013 when I 4.0 is still not a buzzword yet, okay, and we saw a need that nobody was helping, and we find that a lot of high asset equipment needs help because the utilization is low. The OEE of companies at best is about 50-60%, okay, even if they over declare, okay, and there is a real gap there that nobody is helping. So we have developed very deep expertise where my technical team can go down and help companies sensorize even legacy equipment. And to be honest, not many SI wants to do this because honestly, it's a dirty job. It's no money to be earned. We are doing it as a national service. But we also realize that as more and more players come into the market, we want to divest them with what we call system integrators. That's why we have partners in our implementation program. And where the technology has matured, we are very happy to work with SIs, because then we can give the technologies to, especially the SME local SIs, okay? Give them the technology and they help us implement to other companies or even abroad, to complement their existing technology portfolio or otherwise. So the whole idea is that we are not here to compete with industry. We are here to plug gaps that we saw, and then as the technology mature, we will then appoint SIs to do this, okay, with companies. And of course, we try to make it more affordable by capping the cost, okay, because we are not profit oriented. But at the end of the day, we want the SIs to actually go and help the industry. We'll be the happiest. I'll go back to my lab to do my research. But unfortunately, most of the time, it doesn't happen. And why we came up with programs like Omni and DTI? Because we realized that a lot of companies need help, okay? But cost is of a major concern, whether big and small companies alike. And we want to roll out programs that not only leverage on, say, for example, Dr. Roland Lim or Ming Hong's capability as mentors, that from their industry experience, they know what company needs and how to help companies. But at the back of them, we have technologies and capabilities that we can cross leverage. So there is also, therein lies our difference. And then our training program, typically we have this learn, practice, and implement approach. You learn the theory very as thin as possible. You practice in class the theory that you learn. And most importantly, then our mentors will go down to do a project with your company so that you really can internalize what you learn. So any of our training programs like the DTI, for example, or Omni, have this element. So even the data mining courses that we run, for example, we'll implement a project for that company. And we sometimes even, if needed, lend certain equipment to the company so that they can get the data. So therein lies the difference, is that we are here to handhold the company to teach them how to fish when possible. And of course, as a RI, we are here on the long term. That is hopefully answer your question. Any part that I missed?
No, it's good. So back to this point, right? There's a question from Gary to Dr. Lim, right? So on this part of training, that's why he's actually asking, could you share how is this training that is offering, right? Either the Omni or the DTI, right? You've just shared different from other trainings in improving productivity offered by other agencies. So it could be some other program from E2I or whatever. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things going on in the market. So yeah.
Correct. Thank you. Okay, maybe allow me to share a screen, just to show the differences.
Sure, no problem.
So when we develop the by the way, whether it's the DTI methodology or whether it's an Omni methodology, they are all developed locally in-house by our own researcher itself. So this is one unique point itself. That means to say that all these methodology are developed out of many years of working experience with the industry. So this is one unique point. The other unique point is that after we developed the methodology, the question now is how can we transfer the methodology to the industry? And what is the difference? And therefore, when we develop the program to transfer the methodology, we ask feedback from bosses from industry. And their feedback to us is that in order for the program to work, you must not only have just training, which is a learn itself. That may not work. You must have the practice. You must also have the implement. That means to say that in terms of productivity or digital transformation, bosses from industry is interested at the end of the day, how does it help my company?
Yep.
Training is, by the way, one of the elements that is necessary, but not the final objective. Because bosses from industry tell us that I have sent many people for training, but they come back to the company, they may not know how to start. So importantly is that we want to learn the methodology, we want to know the latest concept, but importantly, can your people who teach the methodology, teach the tool, teach the method, come to my company and do on-site mentoring with the people? And also, can you also implement low-hanging fruits project that can improve my company? So this is the second unique step. The first is the methodology. The second is this particular program, learn, practice, implement. The third important different element is that after doing this with us, can you train my people to be champions? Because we want to do it with you one round, but the second round, we want to do it on our own. With your methodology, with your program itself, we want to do it on our own. Can you train us to be champion? And fourthly is it must achieve productivity improvement. It must help my company to become operational excellent. So this is quite unique, This is something that you may not be able to find in the market. And because we are a research institute, our main purpose and objective, the number one and the only one objective, is to bring value to company.
So which is this hand-holding portion that not just a training, but hand-holding and making sure that you do a project to ensure that the knowledge are being implemented.
And also on the job, and also project being implemented. You're right. Yes.
Okay. So there's another question over here, right, from the audience that say, does SMEICC actually have any programs like what you mentioned earlier, right, specific for the food industries for their digital transformation?
Okay, well, the program we have is not specific to a particular industry, but then the structure, if you look at, for example, the first stage is basically the specific objective. Actually tailored towards a specific company or the specific industries on their requirement. So for example, if it's food industries, there's an industry digital plan for the food industries. Right. Now, however, the industry digital plan may not look at the whole holistic approach like what the program provides. So it's actually the best of both worlds. When we work with a company from certain industries, they will rely on their specific industry transformation app or the industry digital plan, whichever the case. But the methodology, starting with the business model, the business objective, then the digital value stream map, the digital systems, gaps, opportunity. This is how we work with the companies together. So it's not a specific for a specific industry, but just like a smartphone, whoever buys the smartphone, you will configure the way you need, and you download the app specific to your needs. So this is the approach we take from this program.
So I think judging from the question that's being asked, right, it may be coming probably if it's actually from the food industry, then probably is there any way that like the Food Association, Singapore Food Manufacturing Association can work together with SMEICC to tailor something for the food industries? Yeah.
Yes, that is possible.
Okay.
On the other hand, over the past several years, we've worked with many companies from the food industry, for example. So that means among the mentors, we have some of them have quite a number of food manufacturing company or food services company background experience as well. So it's a combination of all this together with the associations, they are possible.
We are more than happy to work with the association
Mm,
so that we can understand, have a deeper understanding of what are the critical pain points in the industry that we can address collectively. And we
okay.
are more than happy to do that. Yeah.
Okay, can. So let's look through some of the other questions. Okay, just give me a moment. So we go through one by one. So does A-Star in general have any existing program roadmap for new product innovation towards the new future? I believe you shared earlier, right? Probably you want to just re-emphasize. Prishu, you want to unmute yourself first? Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, apologies. One is through the innovation factory, which we have just set up, okay, which will really go into the product ideation process and things like that. The other, if you're looking at technology road mapping to understand which product sector I should go in and all, like a roadmap, that's where OTR comes in.
Okay.
And we today have actually so-called bring OTR to NTUC has taken over a lot of our OTR engagement. So if you look for OTR, okay, and you see, for example, if you allow me to share screen for a little while,
Sure, no problem.
the first one that comes up will be NTUC Learning Hub, okay, it is OTR, okay, and it's there because this is exactly what I just did to test, okay, the system, okay, and OTR is there, okay, or if you are interested in the syntax version of OTR, we still have a SSG supported courses, and you can look for OTR Simtech, okay, or Storm. The name of the course is actually Storm, STORM. You'll find this, and then you have more information on that. Yeah.
Okay, can. So pertaining to the note, right, of what you shared earlier about the future of SimTech, I think one of the participants, Xue Yuan, has actually asked, can you please elaborate more on the MAAS examples? Because it sounds like a subcontractor manufacturing model with ability to produce for a variety of products. Please correct him if he's wrong. Yeah.
Okay. The whole idea about manufacturing as a service, if you allow me, is to say that how do I servitize manufacturing? Today, if I want to outsource a particular part of my manufacturing, I will talk to my supplier or my partner and say, okay, can you make this part? And then we will do a contract negotiation, and it's lengthy, okay? And it is actually takes a long time. I have to do supplier validation and things like that. But can we go to after we advance enough in our virtualization of services, can we then make just like how to say manufacturing, like I going to a online market to buy a service, and that service could be like a Grab service where I just enable it, and then the Grab will come to my doorstep to pick me up. Or can I enable that service and then be guaranteed that because of the service and the quality guarantee, I'm comfortable to then buy your service for just a very short term. Okay, I may have to validate you, okay, but for a very short term, I just want to buy your service for the next 5 hours to produce this part, to test this part for me, and that's it, like a subscription model. Like I buy a pay-per-use TV service, that kind of thing. So we are not there yet, but it's something that we want to move towards too. And it's a new concept where in semiconductor, for example, there are companies that are fabless. Okay, so can we also do manufacturing without a manufacturing production line? That is a question that where we can say we are changing the manufacturing paradigm. So is that possible? From technology point of view, is yes. But is it ready today? My answer is a very honest no. That's why it's something for the future. Okay, it's the research that we have to put in, and with the help of industry to help us validate the problem statement so that we can guide this research along the correct path. Because for example, the supplier selection and validation is a problem. The contract negotiation is a problem. Okay, at what price, when you deliver, what kind of quality you're going to guarantee me, that kind of thing. All these are issues that are very real that must be solved. And here I do a bit of selling, calling all interested companies to contact me, and more than happy to sit down with you to crystal gaze in the future and solidify these statements further. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Tan. Because I think moving on to this step, right,
Yes.
is pretty important because in a lot of times, I think a lot of people deal with A-star, right? I think it just stopped at the prototyping part. So I think one of the key constraints has always been about the commercialization piece. So it's always been the case that when a lot of things are done already, right, up to a certain point, it's just that, oh, now I've actually done the prototyping, you got something ready. After that, I leave it to you on your own right to go and sell your manufacturing plant and all those things. So I think it's SMEICC taking a very big step and moving back into this manufacturing arena actually. I think over the next few years, your thoughts on that?
SMEICC is always very focused on manufacturing.
Yep,
Whatever
correct.
technology we develop is first for the manufacturing industry, but because especially digital technologies, it's especially operational digital technologies, it's very easy to cross into different industry sectors. That's
Correct.
why we went and help a lot of service sectors and things like that.
Mm,
Okay. So we have never moved away from manufacturing.
It's
Manufacturing
just
will
moving
always
upstream back to the really manufacturing now into the commercialization. Yeah, correct.
yes, and we find that if we leave it at the prototype stage, like you said, a lot of things either end up on the shelf or die a natural death. And we
Correct.
also want to help manufacturing companies move up the value chain. And one way to move up the value chain is to be product owners, product designers. But a lot of SMEs find that it's a very hard ask because the investment is crazy, even if I have great ideas. So we are trying to find ways to help company de-risk. The first part is through the innovation factory, where you can do design ideation with us, initial prototypes with us. And then if you are even ready to do that, the next part is how do you make them? How do you manufacture them? Okay, so that is another angle that we want to help companies in the MPI portion. And then when the process is stabilized, then commercial should take over. We should never run a commercial production line for volume production, for example.
Correct.
And then the other part is we want to anchor ourselves in manufacturing, that's for sure, as Singapore. But can we compete on cost? We can't. Can we perhaps be the pilot production sites of the region where we have the correct capabilities and technology? We set up pilot lines here and then we transfer it to the region, like how Europe and US do it to Singapore in the yesteryears. They'll transfer the line over here and we do mass production. Can we be that kind of site? So these are what I call baby steps. We hope to experiment with the industry. With the industry support, we want to push this further into targeted areas of manufacturing of us.
Well, that's very exciting because seems like
I hope it comes
SMEICC is
to pass.
moving upstream. Yeah, correct. So that's a very good, because I think a lot of things people have been saying, especially now, right, with the mask and all those things, right? There was a time whereby there was really a shortage of supply. So if we don't have the manufacturing capability, right, we are actually being so-called being controlled to a certain degree.
I think mask, just to digress a bit, you bring up a very important point. At one point, Singapore basically has no mask because we have no disposable mask manufacturing. So what in ASA we have done is that we don't care where you belong to, we garner the correct expertise from both the bio side and the science and engineering side. And today, I'm very proud to say that the mask you get in the NDP pack is actually designed and tested by SMEICC and A-Star colleagues. Okay, it's designed by SMEICC and A-Star colleagues, and today they are made in Singapore. And these masks are super comfortable. Not asking you to buy, but I'm proud to say that this is the kind of innovation. If we have the correct skill set and expertise, and we garner it correctly, in 2 months we got it out. We tested it with for up to 30 wash, that kind of thing. So this is the kind of innovation we want to enable. And I think COVID taught us a lot of things in that process. Yeah.
Good to hear that. Good to hear that. Yeah. Okay. So we have another question from Lai Kiet. He's saying that, dear Dr. Tan, your product development is only for physical products or can be on services?
Can be on services. Okay. So we in the innovation factory, you can come and ideate physical products, or you can come and ideate service models also. And then if it's service model, then I have a whole division that can help you in digitalization and servitization. Yeah.
So, okay, thanks, like it for the question. We have another question coming in from Rebecca Lai. So she's actually asking how to protect your invention and new product. I think there's a concern of IP leakage actually. So I think Singapore has always been trying to set up the IP hub and stuff like that. So I think understanding from the ecosystem, right? I think somehow when SMEICC create a technology, right? Somehow you're creating IP as well. So how is all this concerned regarding IP leakage, and how do new companies who want to go into inventions and new product, right, handle this portion?
Okay, this one has a multifaceted level
Yeah,
of
probably
answer.
just go by the
The
best
best
answer.
way, if you have a killer product,
Mm.
is sometimes to keep the know-how
Mm.
back. But sometimes even simple things like Apple has been known to patent their ideas and concepts. But
Mm.
of course, patenting is expensive, okay? But there is also another office that not with us that helps SMEs, yes, to look at patents, okay, filing and things like that. But even if you don't want to file patent, there's always about how can I cross-leverage IPs that is being created. A-Star actually has a commercial arm that look after IP itself as it accelerate. And their job is to look and protect the IPs created by A-Star and to make sure that our local companies has an advantage when it comes to using the IPs. So that is why we are very mindful about IP protection. And we sign agreements with companies, NDAs and things like that to make sure that these things don't leak also.
So I think co-creation is definitely the case, because even in SMEICC, right, I think we have a few companies that who actually join as speakers as well. They actually spoke about adopting A-Star technology to go global as well. So how do you think of such opportunities, and are there a lot, and do you think there's market more to grow such scaling global kind of thing using SMEICC technology?
And this is where I want to call out to any of the companies out here today that is on. If you're interested in any of our technologies, come to talk to us. We will make sure that we give you very good licensing terms, okay? Most of the time, actually, it's token fee, okay? And we will give you the support needed to robustize the technology or to customize the technology for overseas, okay? We have done that for a few cases, but unfortunately, we would love to have more, because I think like OEE, what we have is a very stable product, okay? But there is a lot of opportunity in the region, in the Indonesia, in the Malaysia, in the Thailand market for OEE, because there's a lot of legacy equipment there, okay, for example. And that is something that I would like to call out. Potential companies who are interested, contact us. We are happy to sit down and talk to you. We're actively looking for them.
Okay. I think we have one participant who may be your targeted audience. He's actually Yan Jie is actually asking, I'm actually interested to know more details about SMEICC IoT technology to integrate with my equipment. How shall I follow up with which department?
Okay, I'll give you my email now so that you can contact me. Okay, so I'll type my email out, and then you can drop me an email, and then I can get you to follow up with my colleagues. Okay? Yep,
Thanks.
my email is out. Yep.
Got it. So, okay, wait again. So we have one more. Okay, so I think your call is working. So I think we have another one who is asking for an email. So just to share the context, they actually have a eco-friendly and biodegradable, environmental-friendly solution based hand and mask sanitizer. So probably they want to explore something with your site.
Okay.
What is it? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So Dr. Tan has already shared her contacts in the chat. So if you need to, you can probably just get the contact and just drop her an email. Yeah, correct. So I think with that note, I just want to bring out the poll question basically, just to discuss a bit about the poll number 1. So as you can see, like based on the poll result, let me just share over here. Okay, so we have actually asked earlier about the top 3 business challenges in the area of digitalization. So the number 1 option here, right, is a lack of digitalization plan. So Roland, from your side, if SMEs has actually highlighted this, right, from SMEICC, what will be your best approach that you can actually recommend them?
Yeah, so we have many people who visit us in our model factory, and then they look at the technology from the digital technology at the supply chain level, enterprise, shop floor level, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, they always come out with this, whenever we meet at the end of the tour, so-called, the number one question is, I know what are the technology, but now I want to know how. How do I come up with a digitalization plan? How do I identify the problem in my company? How do I map out my processes and so on? So this is the number one most common question and challenge that most companies face. And therefore, importantly, and this is the reason why we developed the methodology called the DTI, Digital Transformation and Innovation Methodology, and the program itself. So for people who lack of digitalization plan, we will recommend you to join us.
Actually, what do you do inside this program?
So the program itself, maybe I can also share my screen again.
Yep, sure. Probably we can just go a bit deeper.
So they
understand what's the scope of what's covered.
Correct. So you can see this slide.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is what we call the DTI methodology, Digital Transformation and Innovation, so-called methodology, whereby we go, for any kind of transformation, we always say start from your business first. That is stage number one. That means to say that what is your value proposition is stage number one, and also what is your current business model and where you want to go into the future, the SEs and the to-be business model. At the end of stage one is where we come up with what are the objectives. What are objectives, given that you are currently business model is this, and your future business model is this, where are the gap, where are the opportunity, and then come up with the business objective. That's stage number one. Once you have the business objective for transformation, then you come to stage number two. Stage number two is to map out what we call the digital value stream map of a company. To say that if this is your gap, if this is your challenges, if this is your objective, look at your operation. How to map out your operation using digital value stream map. And then from there also look at your current architecture. Because sometimes some of the limitation to digitalization may be your legacy system. And then number three, then say, once you have identified your digital value stream map, once you have come up with your system architecture, current system architecture, identify where are the hotspots, where are the pain points in your processes, where are the pain point in the architecture itself. And number four, stage four is where we say, if this is the case, what are the digital technology out there that can address the pain point, they can enable the opportunity we identify in your digital value stream map. So this is stage four. SMEICC, we have a lot of digital technology, but we deliberately, in the methodology, we deliberately put it under stage number four. Why? Because initially we must understand your gap first. We must understand your operation first. We must understand your pain point first. And then we can recommend to you what are the relevant, what are the suitable digital technology available. It may be from SMEICC itself. It may be from other public sector. It may be from private company as well. So we have a portfolio of technology, not necessarily just from SMEICC itself. We partner, like what Dr. Tai has mentioned, we partner with other company, system integrator as well. And then in stage number four is where we come up with a list of digital technology, we call it initiative. And then how does this initiative change your digital value stream map? How does it come up with a smart architecture? And stage number five is where then we come up with the roadmap itself. So this is what we call, in terms of the program itself, the module number one, module one. Module two is then implementation, whereby you say, if this is the plan you have, this is the digitalization plan. Some companies stop at there. They're just the digitalization plan, and then they ask for funding, for example. Some company go into module number two, whereby I say, if this is the digitalization plan, how do I prioritize them? And then can you also come to my company? We say on-site mentoring. Can you also, together with us, maybe perhaps work with some of the technology in SMEICC that we have, and then how to implement them, and so on and so forth. So this is the detailed part of it. So if you want to come up with a digitalization plan, the best program is to join the DTI program.
Okay, Ken. So thanks Dr. Lim for the explanation. So I think I would just like to consult Ming Hon on his experience. Basically, I think because he has actually worked with a lot of companies, right, on the implementations. So we can see that for SMEICC side as approach, it seems to be following with the, first of all, is the analysis portion, then followed by the implementation, training, and the handover. But in the whole digitalization process, right, what do you think? I think there's always been complaints about SMEs digitalization journey failing or going sour. So in your own experience, right, what are the probably top three cause of this, and then how can they better overcome it?
Yeah. In fact, the most important one is actually the starting with the business value proposition. This is from the company perspective, from the top management perspective. But the next one after that is actually the people already. So in other words, in many companies, why they fail is because the top management selected technology without considering enough about what the people needs. People can be the shop floor people, can be the middle management people. So sometimes people, if their considerations incorporated inside, people do not have the buy-in, and then the technology will be issued. And the third part is then to explore the technology together with the people. All right. And then in that case, we just start with these 3 points, starting with the business value proposition, business objective, involve the people. They will know what is needed to support the business objective. And then together with the top management and the user, select the technology and evaluate and implement it together. I think this is very important perspective. It's not just the top management decide, so be it, and so on. So these are the top 3 key success factors for the digital transformation journey.
Ming-Hong, just to go a bit deeper, right? Because I think in a lot of times we can see that personally, when I actually also assist a lot of SMEs, right, on their so-called digitalization journey, right, it seems that sometimes I think 50% of the time their working people is actually being consulted. But I think because digitalization somehow involves IT, right, then it seems that everybody has a project manager. But even for the vendor side, there's no business analyst or there's no system analyst at both sides. So there is actually no people trying to sort out the gaps. Because, yeah, so it seems that from the whole arrangement I can see, right, that seems to be the value proposition of SMEICC, because it seems that aggregated vendor side, there's no business analysis, system analysis. User side, there's no system analysis, business analysis, but SMEICC itself is a business and system analysis. So it's doing this part to manage the whole gap before they link everybody together. Yeah. Can you say that actually? Yeah.
Yes, I would say so. See, in the systematic 5 stages that Dr. Roland Lim explained, itself, one aspect he may not have explained in detail yet. So we have these 3 I. First I is the initiative, which support the specific business objective. The other I is actually what is the investment is needed, all right? And the third I is what is the impact. Now, so if you consider all the 3 I, you start with the business objective, identify the initiative that address the business objective with the buy-in the people, identify the technology. Then you talk about what are the specific investment needed, what's the impact. So that means the financial perspective is all considered inside. Another perspective to connect all these things together, it's not just IT. This another common term is called OT, operations technology. People who focus on operations technology are the engineering people, like some of us. IT are the computer science background people. But in the world of Industry 4.0, we have to connect the IT and OT together. All right, and starting from the user perspective, it's just like smartphone. None of us are smartphone specialists, but we are all effective users of smartphone. So in this manner, we start with the user perspective to connect the 3 I's together and merging the IT and OT, the business perspective, and that's how the DTI program include all these key factors together. And that's how we help the company in a very significant manner.
Okay. Thanks Ming-Hong for the elaboration as well. Thanks for answering the question. Sure. So I think on my side, I just have one final question for my side. It's actually more on the resource constraint. I think as much, I think SMEICC has got everybody excited with the road mapping, the programs that you have. But I think when it comes to the manpower resource side, right, people will come flooding to you. Is there any concern regarding this manpower resource and the number of projects that you can take? Then I think on the other side of the thing is that we are seeing the newspapers that retrenchments is coming up basically. So is there any programs that SMEICC is actually saying that, hey, I can see that there's a demand for this. I'm going to train a pool of people, then I can actually put them inside these projects and stuff. So there's some kind of supply demand to actually help people or companies who wants to go into technology, right, to spin off or whatever, and they can borrow this training and this platform to so-called expand as well into this area. Probably the SMEICC team can help to address.
Yes, the program, the DTI program, as well as the Operation Management Innovation Program, both programs are designed with train the trainer in mind. So in other words, we are not just train somebody as trainee, but the participants are being trained as trainers so that they can train other colleagues within the company. So with this approach, train the trainer approach, we actually reduce the amount of mentoring time. But at the same time, we are actually introducing how to go about doing it and why and what with the participants. That is actually win-win-win, win for the company, win for the participant, and win for us as trainer. That is reduced time, has more effective and efficient delivery of the whole program.
Just to add, as part of the SG United, both programs are offered by SMEICC as part of the SG United program also. Okay, and if you allow me to share my screen again, because this is the most effective way. Okay.
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
Yes, the SG United Skills Program in SMEICC, if you search for it, you'll find that we have 7 programs there. Okay, 2 of them are the what you call the DTI, Digital Transformation and Innovation. The other one is the Operations Management and Innovation are there. But there are also other programs that perhaps the attendee in the audience who are interested. Okay, there are 7 SG United sponsored program. We already started some of them like DTI and OMI already, but we are now still, I think, still some spaces left for the second and third batches.
Actually, Priscilla, what is this SG United program about? Are you able to, just share?
Okay, maybe I'm not the expert, but let me try. Okay, sure. This program is to help PMETs in particular who are out of the job at the moment. And while looking for a job, okay, the government has rolled out this SG United program to help people who need to learn new skill sets. And this program, while coming on board this program, for example, I think they pay only about $750. But if they go on this program while looking for a job and they fulfill a minimum of 60 hours a month, the government actually pay them $1,200 as an allowance to get them by. Okay, and then they are allowed to withdraw from the program the moment they find a job. So it's the government's stopgap measure. While you're looking for a job, we are hoping that you pick up new skills that help you look for a new job or a better job, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much. I think for my side, I've covered almost everything. So I think for the Q&A side, we have also covered most of the questions. I think there's one participant here about which I'll leave SMEICC to contact her separately. Yeah, correct. Because most of the questions from her. So I think with that, we've come to the end of today's session. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Roland Lim,
thank you.
And Dr. Tan Pui Siu for joining us in today's session. So with that, right, to those who are actually keen to sign up for the SMEICC membership, please take note of this special offer that we're having till 21st of September. Yeah, you can find more information here on SMEICC website. We have officially come to the end of this this seminar. So I would just like to run a short poll over here because for us to so-called get back, if you actually wish to for SMEICC to engage you, right, the quickest way will be to actually indicate the response over here so that we can actually get directly just forward your contacts over to SMEICC to actually get in touch with you. Yeah, correct. So I'll just leave this screen on here first. So please do help us with your feedback and comments on the SMEICC Live through the survey form which you can find on this website. You may scan the QR code on screen or follow the redirect link after you have closed this session. So we have actually got more exciting tracks and actually top-notch speakers lined up for you over the final day tomorrow. So please do continue to join us. You may actually scan the QR code to view the full program. So thank you all for joining this session, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much.